Well, welcome back to my channel for those who've been hanging with me some time, and welcome to those who are new. My name's Adela Levine, intuitive and medium. Okay, so you know me, I did a little vote and wanted to see where you guys were at on this next subject. And it wasn't like a landslide, but it was definitely a lead that people wanted to hear about. Are there different timelines? So let's get into it, shall we? Yes and no. All right, so yeah, drink of water. When I'm looking into the future, which is my intuitive readings, when I'm projecting down and seeing people's future, and even when I'm looking into the future, period, I am looking at possible timelines. So let me put it to you this way. I don't believe in preordained destiny. I believe that every decision we make, everything we're doing is creating that future. So kind of look at it almost like the butterfly effect. So everything we do has an effect on the, I want to say the outcome, but there is kind of like dots connecting, you know, to each other. That's how I see it. Now, I don't see it as linear. I see time kind of more like a sphere that's constantly moving and circulating and coming back around. So for instance, let's say you had a crossroad in your life. You had a major decision. I look at crossroads can be very small and they can be very large. So a crossroad could be, well, I was going to get married to this person. I was going to go to this school for college. I was going to take this job or not take this job. And these are kind of major crossroads, and small crossroads could be, what apartment do I want to move into? Which one am I going to choose? Which car am I going to buy? These are kind of small crossroads, meaning what car you're going to buy might determine how, let's say, the next few years are going to go, what money you're going to spend, things like this, right? So when you're looking at a major crossroad, which is like what I said, you're going to marry someone, you know, what job you're going to take, your first job, or things like that. This sometimes when we say, okay, people have this idea of regret. I was going to do this, but I didn't. And then the whole timeline shifts. And we look back, let's say you had made that decision, or let's say you even skipped the whole thing and said, I don't really want to make a decision, so I'm just going to sit this out and I'm not going to make any decision. Crossroads either way resurface. This is what I've learned a lot in reading. What I mean by that is, let's say you had this major crossroad in your life and you abandoned it. It will show up again. So let me give you a little example that might help. There was a time in my life where I was living in Los Angeles and I was very young, and I had made a decision to leave Los Angeles with someone, and that was a major crossroad. And when I returned to Los Angeles, not only did I return actually to be with someone that I was with right before I left, but I ended up right back in the same neighborhood with the same person. Now, what is significant about this crossroad? Right before I left Los Angeles, and this was for several years that I left, I had turned off. I decided not to use my abilities. I decided they were really rampant and strong, but I didn't want to go down that road. So I turned down the volume of my abilities and turned my back onto that path. When I reemerged, which happens to me a lot, and this is very different for everybody. I tend to learn lessons kind of obvious, kind of blunt, kind of not much to read into, where you can go, okay, that seems like pretty much a given. When I returned, I was right back in the same city, town, person, and this time I had chosen to go down my spiritual path and hone my gifts, and voila, here I am. So that was a major crossroad, and it was a major crossroad that resurfaced. And so when it comes to time has a way of shifting constantly. the timeline. So I don't believe in the wrong or right decision. When I'm looking at someone, I'm saying, listen, if you make this decision 2 months from now, I see this, and this is going to play out, and that's going to play out. I'm looking how to save you problematic situation, like almost like, you know, trying to save you like a ditch in the road, trying to save you from having to go down this way and maybe curve around. So I look at it more like, you know, I'm trying to navigate you, turn left, turn right, and maybe go around that pothole and not have to deal with the situation. However, it doesn't mean everything goes to hell. It's been many times where I've done readings for people and they're like, whatever, Dale, I'm not doing that. I'm going to do this. And they make a decision. And yes, the series of events do happen, but I can look and they can come back to me and say, listen, I decided to do that, and I went with this way, and now this is the situation I'm in. And I can look and I can guide them from there. Now, when I say like people decide to do something and things kind of go a different way, it's a different set of circumstances that resurface. So in other words, when you make a decision, a whole different set of circumstances of how you're going to get to that same end zone will occur. So let's say, for instance, when you're looking at different timelines, when I see these different timelines, I'm like, listen, if you go down this timeline, this is what I see. If you go down this timeline, this is what I see. However, we're participating because our action is creating a reaction on the outcome. Make sense? Did I lose you guys? Do you get it? So the big question people have is, if there's different timelines, is there another Adela out there going down the timeline and made a different decision, the original crossroad, having a whole different life? Well, there we go, is into quantum physics, or the idea that there's multiple parallel dimensions or lines or streamlines. Now, I want to preface this, you can pause, and definitely let you know that I'm coming from what I've learned and come to understand through my readings. I'm not trying to play like I'm some great quantum physics expert. There are plenty of videos out there for you to look at, and plenty of physics out there of information for you to inform yourself about quantum, in the quantum world. However, I feel like there's something to what I'm doing and something that is parallel to what is being spoken about this. So what I mean by is, when I'm looking at someone's life, the decisions a person's made, and I will tell you, I'll be honest, the older the person is, it's almost like the timelines shrink. You know, if someone's like 18, 17, 16, and I've read for people who are like 18, 19, 20, they're at the beginning of their path. Younger than that, before people have like left school and things like that, with a parent present, I only do these type of readings with an adult present. It is a little different reading people like that, because you haven't even set a decision on a direction, not even a little bit, quite as much. But when you're like 19, 20, you pretty much are starting to step into a timeline. So I feel like the younger people are, I see the timeline almost like a fan that fans out, and there's all these possible timelines. And as we make decisions, and by the way, it doesn't necessarily mean you're young, because young people can go through a lot by the time they're 22. All right? I'm sure there's some of you going, yeah. So it doesn't necessarily mean age. It just happens to happen that way a little bit more than, let's say, someone older. So in other words, the more active in the decisions you've already made, you took a career, you married someone, you had kids, you've now lived in 2 different places, you have set sequences into event, right? You have already set things into motion, and it has affected your life. Now you can always stop and shift gears. You can always shift over into, when I see path, when people talk about path, I see it as a timeline. Now, with that said, when I'm looking down someone's timeline, I can see what's happening in 2 months, 3 months. I can see those things, and I have seen those things many, many times. But I will say, listen, I'm seeing this. If you're going to, it doesn't like you have to follow what I'm saying exactly, but I'm saying when you get that phone call and that person offers you this job, if you do it this way and this way, this is the result. Now, if someone says, I don't want that result, you know, I don't want to go that direction, then I can look at this other timeline and say, this other possible timeline and say, okay, if you're going to do this, then this and this and this I see as the outcome. But I do get these kind of like warnings, like be aware, look out for this, or I'm supposed to plant seeds. I'm not allowed to see like every single thing that is happening, because we have to go through life, right? We have to go through life and experience it. That's our human nature. However, I have for myself seen quite a bit down my timeline, and I get really upset when I can't, because I'm not used to not doing that. I'm not saying I'm predicting everything, you know, this cup's going to go here and this and this. I'm not saying that. But I can look down, and if you have that experience where you feel like you're looking down and you kind of got a knowing of things going in a certain direction, then you kind of may be having the little beginnings of what I'm talking about. And I feel like what people do is, and even though I'm saying looking down, just remember time to me is a sphere that's spinning and constantly circling around. I don't see it as front and back. I only use that visual because it's just kind of my human side helps me to understand. But I do see it as a constant movement. So next, what I would say this, kind of, for example, what's happening in the world today. There is so much going on. There's so much happening. All of those effects, I kind of see it as almost like debris flying around, is hitting everyone's timeline, hitting your path. It's having an effect because everything everyone's doing is in sync. Do you see what I'm saying? So let me explain it to you this way. Because if this business is going here and that business is going there, if through this pandemic, like we're not doing certain things, everything's affecting everyone. We're all acutely aware of it, and we're all kind of working a little bit more in unison. So it is affecting people's timelines a little differently. So this is what I say to that. Wake up each day and kind of take a temperature. Like, where's the wind blowing? What am I feeling today? Where does it feel like a push and pull? Because it is a frequency and an energy that is constantly moving. So what I've been doing during this time is every day feeling what's going on. And I can feel, like for instance, like I've said in the other video, that we are gonna go through another surge of, you know, things happening. Although I think that's obvious to people about the idea of maybe things kicking up again as far as a second wave during this pandemic. But I saw that like months ago, that we were going to have a clunk and then we were going to go to phase 3. I kind of saw it as phase 1, phase 2, and now we're in phase 3. We're moving towards phase 3. This is how I see it, where people are going to realize, okay, I think things aren't just going away and we're going to go through another stage. However, it doesn't mean just because you can even get information logically from the scientists and the information online, and let's say you're like, okay, Dela, maybe that's affecting you or maybe that's affecting me. You have to still take the temperature each day, because how it's going about or the way it's going about may be changing constantly. And like I said, I saw this way back in the beginning, and so when you start to see it play out, and that's the difference about the timelines to me right now, is they are happening rapid fast, where I used to just kind of look down someone's path and see like a year or 2 years. Now I'm just going for months. So I do believe there are different timelines, but I don't feel like it's what people think. I don't know for sure if there's another Adela playing out or another you playing out in a different timeline, and it's already happening. I kind of feel, my instinct tells me that it's kind of more like once you make the decision, it's almost like in a video game, it just kind of dissipates that other existence, what's going to happen, just, you know, kind of like, you know, what I'm trying to do. What am I trying to say? Kind of vanishes, kind of like disappears, and then this new timeline emerges. That's kind of more the way I see it. So I hope that made sense. Cheers to myself and you with water, if it did make sense, because I was trying really hard to explain this to you. I just wanted to let everyone know, of course, during this time and everything we're going through, I am still offering my 50% off of all readings, and you can go to DaleLevine.com to help everyone out. I am doing a class this weekend on June 13th, and it's gonna be how to lift the veil. And lifting the veil to me is really just your sight and not being able to see so clear, and then lifting it. And that's what we're going to work on. Why you see shadow people, why you may have sleep paralysis, why you see spirits in the corner of your eye. It may just be because, to me, the veil is your sight just not lifting. That will be this Saturday. You can get information on my website, DaleLevine.com. And of course, I post everything on Instagram if you're interested. Listen to yourself, follow no one, listen to the inner voice, be safe, and I'll see you guys soon.